Alright guys, I'm actually going to do kind of a first for the channel today, and I'm going to be doing a deck profile for you guys of a deck that I play right now. Um, I consider it to be tier 1s. Andrew, the other guy that plays on the channel all the time, he doesn't consider it to be tier 1, but I think he's wrong. So we'll go ahead and start off. As you can tell by the title, it's actually going to be a Elemental Heroes. I call it One Punch Man. That's my name for it. So to start off with the actual deck profile, we have Elemental Hero, Neos, Alius. So I only run one. I'm going to go kind of quickly through the main deck, and the reason I'm going to do that is because I'll kind of talk about the combo pieces and how the deck works a little bit later once we actually hit the masked heroes and the actual fusion summons. So I run 3 Shadow Mist. This card is just beautiful in the deck. You obviously need to run 3. There's no other way to really run this card. I run 1 Voltic. I tried a couple other ones. I didn't really like any of the other elemental heroes in the deck. I ended up sticking with 1 Voltic just so I had an extra light. Plus his effect can be really nice. Triple bubbleman because he's bubbleman, and it's just a broken card. It's the draw effect and the fact that you can special summon this monster when it's the last monster in your hand. It's just a really good card. It allows you to do some XYZ plays and to sometimes just swing for some extra damage. Triple blazeman. I love this card. What can I say? It's just a really good card. It adds a lot of consistency to the deck. It allows you to do some really crazy plays, especially late game and beginning game, actually. He's actually one of my favorite turn 1s besides going into Darklaw, which I'll explain that in a second. My kind of tech card is Summoner Monk. I run 2 of them because I'm only allowed to have 2. If this card goes to 3, this deck will actually get significantly better just off of that alone. So that's actually the monster lineup. It's kind of a small amount of monsters, but you'll see the main reason of the deck. The deck does recycle quite a bit, so you don't really have to worry too much about it. The spells, however, there are a huge amount of spells in this deck. So the main card, of course, being Mass Change. Mass Change is a super important card. It's basically the engine that runs this deck, and it allows you to summon your masked hero monsters. You need this to switch the heroes into masked hero monsters. Okay? And it is your fusion summon. It is a quick play, so it is a very good card. You can play it during battle phase, you can play it during your opponent's turn, making it an even more aggressive card. The other things that I like about this deck is I like how much searching this deck has. I love it. Emergency Call, so emergency Call is a fantastic card, allows for a lot of crazy plays. Beginning game, sometimes I have that in my hand with a mass change, and then I just search Shadow Mist, go into Darklaw, do whatever I need to do. I believe this is a better round 2 deck, if you know what I mean. Because let's say you're playing Lightsworn. If you're playing Lightsworn, you basically you turn 1 Darklaw and you just hope that it's GG. So sometimes you can just win turn 1 with this deck just because of the lock of Darklaw. So Darklaw is probably your best turn 1 play. Form Change. Form Change kind of allows, this is why we call it One Punch Man. I only run 2 of these, and I'll kind of explain why. Form change can be a really, really dead draw sometimes. Um, the reason being is if your field is wiped or Raigeki'd, whatever, let's just say that happens, it's just a dead draw after that. The next turn you draw it, it's just a completely dead draw. You can't do anything with it. It can sometimes just be a super terrible card that allows you to do nothing. So that's the only reason I run it at 2. Besides that, it is a really good card. I have seen people run it at 3, but I decided to run it at 2, and I run 2 of a card that I'll explain later. Triple Miracle Fusion. The only reason I run 3 of this is because I run a couple of cards that allow me to abuse it, which are in my extra deck, which I will show in just a bit. But this card is a great top deck card, which is what I mean by Form Change being a terrible top deck card. So unless you need Form Change at the time, it's just a horrible card. It's typically a really bad option, but it's really great if you have it set. 2 Polymerization. Even though I'm running Triple Blazeman, I only run 2 Poly. Honestly, I don't think you need to put more than 2 in. I have had very few situations where I actually was like, oh man, I wish I had put that 3rd Poly in my deck so that my 3rd Blazeman effect went off. I don't think I've ever had that situation happen. So Just stick to 2, try it with 2. If you want to run the third one, that's okay. I would just take a miracle out, honestly, and replace it with a poly. But I almost guarantee you'll rarely ever get the triple blazeman poly search. You're typically either going to draw one of the polys if you run 3, or you're just never going to get the third effect off. So 3, a hero's lives. This card is ridiculous. You just special summon Shadow Mist, grab Mass Change. They have to stop your play after this card. There's very few things that they can do about it sometimes. You can go into Anki, you can go into Dark Law. If you have a form change, you can go into an Acid. You can really do whatever you want with this card. So this card's kind of I would say the bread and butter turn 1 combo besides Summoner Monk. Reinforcement of the army. Obviously, I can search for my monsters. Just another search card. So, Mass Charge. I run 2 of these. And the reason I run 2 is because the third one, like Form Change, and this is kind of where my replacement, I originally was only running 1 of these, and I switched to 2. So I took the third Form Change out, and I put 2 of these in. It's a really good card if you got your effects off and you have 2 targets in the graveyard. The actual verbiage on it, if I can get it a little bit closer, it's kind of, my camera's having a hard time focusing today. So you target 1 hero monster and 1 change quick play spell, and you can add that from the graveyard to your hand. So it's a really good card. It can allow you to do a lot of things, but you really only need 2. A third one could possibly be a dead draw. Sometimes the card is a dead draw in general, so you don't want to run more than 2. The next card, obviously, is just a staple. I run Raigeki. Raigeki's ridiculous right now. If you're not running that card, you need to be in pretty much every deck. And I run triple Mystical Space Typhoon. This deck loses really badly to Vanities, so there's a lot of floodgates in the game right now, and you have to stop them. So triple MST is almost a must for me. I run it in a lot of decks right now, so that is the spell lineup for the deck. And I have very few traps, and I'm going to explain why I have very few traps. So I have the I have the staple card in the deck called the Haunted, which I'm only running 2 right now. And the reason is because I wanted to put these other 2 staple traps in. That's the only reason that I'm running 2. I ended up putting in a Compulse and 1 Bottomless trap hole. So the Call of the Haunted, the only reason I'm running 2, because the card is obviously very broken in this deck, is because I wanted to add these 2 just so that I had some actual trap back row. Call of the Haunted, really good. It lets you kind of turbo off a Shadow Mist or go for another play immediately afterwards. Just a really great card in combination with Shadow Mist, and probably one of my favorite trap cards in the deck. But I will explain why there are so little traps in this deck when we get to the side deck. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to the extra deck, and I'll kind of go over the combo pieces in this deck, and I'll explain how they work. So the first one is Dark Law. Dark Law is probably one of my favorite cards in the game. Honestly, he looks amazing. He's an outstanding card. I love his super rare. I love the fact that you could buy the starter deck, and everyone pretty much had the availability to get this card. But there are so many ways to get this card onto the field. So Shadow Mist, first of all, is probably the easiest way to get the card onto the field, and you have so many ways to special summon him in this deck. He's almost the main boss monster in the deck, but you have Summoner Monk, you can ditch a spell. There's so many spells. I guarantee you're going to have a spell in your hand if you have a Summoner Monk. So you Summoner Monk. One of the best things to do is to blazeman and Summoner Monk kind of combo together pretty well, and they allow you to work off of each other. So you can blazeman, you can ditch a poly, you can special summon again with Summoner Monk. You can do some really, really great things with Summoner Monk and blazeman on the field. Not to mention you have 2 targets to actually poly with, so that's a really, really big plus for you. So Dark Law, I don't think I really need to talk about him too much. He's just a broken card. He's a really good card, and yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say about him. Acid, absolutely fantastic card. By the way, if you hear me sneezing and sniffling, I have a little bit of a head cold, so I'm sorry about that if my voice sounds a little bit different. Acid is a ridiculously good card. He's probably one of my favorite cards in the deck besides Dark Law, and that's just because this man just has won me so many games. I've won so many games because of the just destroying all their set cards. He's actually really expensive right now. I think he's about $13 currently in the format, so he's actually a really expensive card. So I only run one in my deck, and I run one-sided. So that's the lineup for him right now, and I'll explain his combo in just a minute. So one Master Hero Anki, really good card, really powerful card. You should be running this if you are running a Master Heroes deck. It's just really good. Allows you to grab quick play spells and destruction of creatures. You need a card. He's a 2800 beat stick. He's just a phenomenal card. He looks great in the rare forms as well. So I don't know if I can. For some reason, my light is being really weird in this room. So. One Koga. This card is just a crazy beat stick, so probably one of my favorites. One Dian. What more can I say about this card? Its effect is amazing. It's just such a hard card to get out. One of the reasons you need form change is for this card. I do run one Divine Wind. I will tell you right now, I almost always side this card out during duels, but I run it in the beginning of the duel just because you never know what you're facing, and sometimes, not being able to be destroyed by battle is really good. Plus, it's 2700 beat stick. That's a pretty good, it's a pretty decent damage. One Goka. I run it for the form change on it for Darklaw. What was the one? Can't remember. I think it's Vapor, Master Hero Vapor, I believe, is the other one that I wanted. I couldn't get it. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I actually would replace this with Vapor, personally. Although Goka has done really well for me in some games, so I can't be too angry about it. Absolute Zero. This card, I love this card. If you can recycle this card, it is amazing. That card is probably one of the best cards to recycle in the deck, especially if you can keep it in your extra deck. It's more beneficial to you at all times to keep it in the extra deck. But there are a couple ways to do some pretty amazing things. So, form change and mass change on Absolute Zero. What can I say? Basically, they do, or not form change. Sorry. Well, you can form change him, but form change is actually the best one for the combo. But mass change does work as well. Basically, Absolute Zero, you swap him, right? So you form change him or you mass change him, and you turn him into acid. Now, when Absolute Zero leaves the field, that's what the effect says, leaves the field, he destroys all monsters on the field, obviously unless they can't be destroyed by a card effect. So he leaves the field, acid comes onto the field. When acid comes onto the field, acid destroys all set traps and spell cards, and anything flip face up that's a spell card. So it's kind of just a wombo combo that just destroys the entire field, just immediately. So it's kind of broken. I've had some really ridiculous fights and just won because of this combo in one turn. And then immediately the next turn, I've just mass changed twice and just killed him in one turn. So let's see, what else do we have to go over? We got Elemental Hero, the Shining. This card is just a beat stick, really good with Miracle Fusion. You just banish monsters out, and then when he gets destroyed, you get to return him. Just a really good card. I can never pronounce this card right, but it's like Escuridao. It's the Dark Elemental Hero, just to have another target for Dark, since there are so many Dark cards in this deck. One Vision Hero Trinity. I love this card. This card has won me so many games because they had a huge, massive beat stick on the field that I couldn't get over, and I just killed them with Trinity. So this card will save your life, I promise you. So the actual effect for it, though, is during the turn this card was fusion summoned, its attack is double its original attack, which is 2,500. And his summon card can attack 3 times during each battle phase, but it cannot attack directly. So it can actually just win in one turn sometimes, and it's just a great card. Sometimes having a 5,000 beat stick can just be a game changer sometimes. This is kind of like the Quasar of the deck, it feels like. Contrast Hero Chaos. It came with the starter deck. It's super cheap right now. It's dirt cheap. It's just 2 masked heroes, and you poly them or whatever you have to do. I prefer Miracle Fusioning it. But you Miracle Fusion, you create this card. Its effect is This card is always treated as an elemental hero monster, must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. While face up on the field, this card is also light attribute. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can target one face up card on the field, negate the target's effect until the end of the turn. So it's a really good card. It's a 3000 beat stick. Sometimes this is just enough of a lock plus Dark Wall to just win the game. So this card plus Dark Wall is fantastic. There's not a lot they can really do. I want run 101 Silent Honor Arc, obviously a broken card. You can mass change this into Acid, so that makes it a little bit better. If you're about to lose it, just mass change it, make it into Acid, wipe out their field. So even like on a Mirror Force, like let's say you don't have any XYZ materials, just mass change it, make it into Acid, wipe out their entire back row first, and then even though you could even just put Acid in defense mode, and then problem solved, you avoided the Mirror Force, and you took out all the spells and traps. So, especially since right now this format is pretty heavy in back row, especially with the new deck. So, Castel, because he's Castel. Cowboy, he's Cowboy. I don't think I really need to talk too much about those. So, for the side deck, as you guys noticed, I'm not main decking Vanities. You know why? Because I hate this card. I despise this card, but it is really good, so I do keep it in the side deck. You all know what this card does. I wish it was banned. That would make me a very happy camper. I run 2 Light Imprisoning Mirror. I actually face a lot of Lightsworn around here. I don't know why, but people still play them. I actually have the deck, and I hate the deck. But and I'll be posting a profile of that as well. I run that with the Perform Age engine. But 2 Light Imprisoning Mirror, really good card. Obviously shuts down a lot of decks. Debunk, it's just a good card. I love this card. I've always run it side deck. I run 3. Sometimes it just wins games for me, and especially since I run so little traps, I normally can just take 3 out, put those 3 in. I have been running Mind Crush in the deck, but I actually took that out and replaced it with Debunk. I liked it a little bit more. So this is what I was talking about when I run a really low trap count. That's because I run Triple Royal Decree. This card right here this plus Dark Wall has just won me games so many times. So many times I put this in, and it's game after that. So the new deck, what's it called? The Pendulum deck that just lets you have a crazy amount of trap cards on the field. Yet see how well they do when you have Triple Royal Decree and you flip one face up, and then you just mass hero all over them. They're not going to do a whole lot. As soon as you put a Dark Claw out, it's pretty much game after that. So I promise you, this is probably one of the best cards in the deck, but you don't want it main decked. Not in the current format. That might actually change with these new decks coming out. I might honestly say Royal Decree at 3. Just toss it in there. You might actually start winning very heavily with that card. I do run 2 Noblemen of the Crossout. I've always locked that card. I don't have a full side deck right now, and I apologize for that, just because I've been moving cards around to different decks, so I don't have like full decks with all the cards already. I have my extra Acid and my extra Dark Wall right here as well, which I toss in during some matchups. So that's about it for the deck profile. If you guys have any questions on the actual deck, like how it plays, I've played this deck quite a lot. I've had some pretty high placings in tournaments. I've won locals several times with it. So if you guys have any questions about it, just hit me up in the comments. I'll answer any of them. Also, send me some of your ideas, guys. I play this deck a lot. I plan on keeping it. I'm in love with the heroes. The heroes are amazing. So we'll just set these right here for the end view. You know, we gotta have that cowboy in there as well. So if you guys have any suggestions, even like just shoot them at me. I love this deck. Like I said, I call it One Punch Man because it just one turn you just form change, mass change, and you just swing for 8,000. It's amazing. I love that effect. Just keeping their field just completely wiped, and you keep going. The only other thing I am going to say about the deck very quickly is that this deck dies very quickly if you don't keep your monsters on the field. Be very careful and protect your monsters to the best of your ability. Be very slow. Don't try and swarm the field and then get hit by a Mirror Force. You're going to be in really bad shape. So try and keep your monsters in your hand. You definitely lose hand advantage very quickly with this deck, so be very careful about your plays. You got to play a little bit more cautiously, but once you kind of wipe their field, you don't really have to be cautious at all, and you can typically just OTK them very easily. So that's all I'm going to say about the deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if it helps you guys out. Just shoot me some likes, shoot me some comments. Yeah, that's it. Django Camps out. Peace.